Hey, also, regrettably, I have to do this video. This video is in response to David Goggins coming after me lately. Now, if you don't know who David Goggins is, this probably isn't that interesting to you. If you do know who David Goggins is, you might have seen him posting a bunch of stuff about me and then doing this long podcast where he talks about me for about 20, 30 minutes. I'm going to respond to everything he said. I'm going to tell you why I'm responding. I will say, I think this is really dumb. I mean, really, really dumb. This is like celebrity gossip dumb. I like to do videos on policy. I like to do videos talking about why we should be targeting the Mexican drug cartels and saving our oil and gas industry. You follow me, so you know what I like to talk about. I don't like getting into this really silly online influencer spats. It's ridiculous, but that's what this is. And he's made it so I have to respond. And it's not even so much about what he said about me, right? He has a series of complaints about me. It's what he said about others that can't defend themselves. This is the only time during this video that you're going to see me get a little angry with him, because he talks about people who can't defend themselves, who don't have a platform to defend themselves in the SEAL teams. And he says some pretty nasty stuff, and I'm going to call him out for it. But let's start from the beginning. I'm going to do my best to organize this as best I can so that if you've never even heard of this stuff and you're interested in it, you can kind of understand it without having to go look up a bunch of different videos and posts and all that. I'll do my best here. It started with this interview that I don't even remember giving back in 2020 on this random podcast. I don't even know the name of it. In this interview in late 2020, we're probably talking about COVID, right? This is like the height of COVID. We're probably talking about the presidential election. This is the kind of stuff that's on my mind. And this podcaster just randomly asks me about David Goggins. At this point in time, I have never talked to David Goggins. I don't know him. I reached out to him once about my book that came out earlier that year, and he takes issue with that. And I'll give you the details on that. I only know him from Instagram. I don't know him from the SEAL teams. I don't know anyone who knows him. I don't know anything about him. I know him from Instagram. I know that he posts these motivational running videos. That's it. That's like what I know about him. I know he's a former SEAL. I know he has a really popular book, which is why my publisher asked me to reach out to him. So that's all I know. Okay. And out of left field, this kind of random question comes to me, and this is my answer. This is what David Goggins is extremely upset about. Like extremely upset. Here we go. I'll play it.
So with books, I wonder how much of it. So like David Goggins. So I'll bring him up because he's not super well liked in the community. Although I met him before and we've talked and stuff, and he even says he's not super well liked in the community. But you know, his book is very popular, right? Very, very popular. He doesn't talk about tactics or anything, right? But a lot of guys don't like that.
Yeah, so his book. I've never read his book, and I've never met a single SEAL who knows him. So I have no opinion. He doesn't have a very what would I call it? His SEAL career isn't very full. I guess, you know. I mean, I don't. He's not known for any particular deployments or
That's an important line. I say he's not known for any particular deployments, which is true. He's not. Most famous SEALs that you do know about, like Marcus Luttrell or Jocko or Chris Kyle, Rob O'Neill, like they're known for very specific things and actions. He's not, right? It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. I mean, most guys are not known for anything in particular. The podcaster misquoted me. He made a different title. The title that he used said, David Goggins is not known for any deployments. So that's a lie. That's not what I said. And the implication is quite different, right? Words have meaning. And so David Goggins is very sensitive about this subject, because what I didn't know during this interview, and what I only found out like years later, is that there's like one guy apparently who has posted YouTube videos saying that David Goggins never deployed. All right. So he's extremely sensitive about this. I didn't know any of that, right? Because I don't know him. And look, nobody in the SEAL teams talks about him. If you listen to David Goggins and his opinion on the SEAL teams, you would think that everybody's talking about him all the time. I've been in the community for 15 years. I've never heard his name once. The only time I ever came across David Goggins was when I started like getting in on Instagram and like in politics and seeing that he had a big following. Like that's the first time I'd ever heard of him. That's important to note, I think. All right, let's keep Let's keep looking at this.
Anything in particular. So I don't know what his book's even about. You know, he seems to be selling more of a 50-mile run, ultra marathon type of mentality. To me, it has nothing to do with the SEAL teams. And so again, his messaging, his whole demeanor, I can't relate with it at all. It's not very SEAL like. SEALs don't act that way.
He takes a huge amount of offense at that comment. Look, what I'm saying here is simple. The brand that he's given himself isn't really related to the SEAL teams, which is okay. Like in essence, because what I'm trying to explain to this guy is that what SEALs get really upset about is when you pretend like you did a lot and you use that to gain more followers, to make it seem like you've done all this combat action and that you should be more famous for it. I'm actually saying here that David Goggins didn't even do that. David Goggins has a totally different brand that is like I don't relate with. I don't take videos of myself like yelling at the camera, like motivating. Like that's not my thing. That's all I'm saying here. I'm just being honest. I'm trying to answer the question honestly. When I hang out with other SEALs, like we're not like that. It's just a true statement. Like it was not meant to be offensive. And
so that's his own brand. And I see some of his videos. He doesn't really talk about SEAL stuff. No. Obviously, the book has a picture of him in uniform. So it's like I just don't have much of an opinion because it seems to me like a totally different brand. But that is clearly boosted by the trident on his chest.
Also true.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's the same thing that I've heard is that, his thing was being the toughest guy in training, right? To be the
well, yeah, but see, that would really make a SEAL mad to hear that. Yeah. Because it's like, what does that mean to be the toughest guy in training? To me, it's not tough to run a lot. I'm not trying to diminish it. It's a different brand. Yeah. To me, it's tough. The guy who gets shot 28 times and walks away from it. That's tough. Like that's so it's just it's a totally different brand. And so, if it works, it works. If it makes people happy to, get them motivated. But it's not what SEALs are necessarily.
That's basically the end of that question. It's a short clip. It's what David shared on his interview lately, and has been picking apart. And I'll have to go through all of his counter arguments in this video. I wouldn't even call them counter arguments; they're just complaints. But clearly, what I'm saying here is, look, this guy's asking, what's the SEAL take on David Goggins? And I'm saying David Goggins appears to do this other kind of branding that is completely separate from the teams. Right? That's all I'm saying. I don't know why that's so offensive. And I don't know why. And look, in that last comment about, what's tough and what isn't, that really made David mad too. I'll show you his reaction to it. I stand by that. Like if we're in a platoon, like we don't care about a guy who does like triathlons. It's not what we care about. We care about your actions in combat. That's what a SEAL cares about. That's what we consider when we judge someone. And yeah, the guy who got shot 28 times and then got up and killed a bunch of Al-Qaeda terrorists and still made it out alive, that's tough. One of the reasons that I'm responding to David is because of how he reacted to that comment and how he reacted to the guy that I'm talking about right there.
And it was a little, even this clip, it clips a little bit of that out. But yeah, he goes on to say something about being shot 20. I think he's talking about Marcos Luttrell, right? Or she being shot all these times, or somebody else, somebody.
People don't talk about there's 28 times being shot.
Yeah, he's talking about something.
I don't know who the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah,
he's talking about some dead guy.
Yeah, I guess
that's what he's talking about. So check it out, man.
Talking about some dead guy. Well, David, here's the thing, man. This is the only time I'm going to get kind of upset in this video. You should know who I'm talking about. Now, I misspoke a little. It wasn't, the number's actually 27. Talking about Mike Day. Mike Day's, every SEAL knows who Mike Day is. Every single SEAL knows who he is. He was on a deployment in Iraq. They got in a horrible gunfight in a building. In the chaos, he got left behind. He was shot 27 times. He was unconscious. He awoke from he awoke. His good arm was all shot up, so he used his left arm to grab his pistol, shoot a bunch of the Al-Qaeda terrorists that were in the room with him, made it out alive. The guy deserves the Medal of Honor, actually. You were right about one thing, David. I am talking about a dead guy because he killed himself last week. Fucking killed himself last week. He's a legend. And you don't even care about who he is. Yeah, he's tough. Let me tell you something else about toughness, okay? And how I judge it, and why I said what I said. Why I said how SEALs judge it. There's a difference between voluntary and involuntary suffering. You know, we talk about my book in this interview. I have a whole chapter about voluntary suffering, doing something hard. Now, David Goggins actually perfectly embodies that. Like that's literally his entire brand. It's great. It is a tool to increase mental toughness, but it doesn't make you a hero. What makes you a hero is what you do when something happens to you that you didn't volunteer for. When you're hurt, when you're suffering, when your Vietnam vet is in Hanoi Hilton for 6 years and you don't know when the next time is your torture session is going to start. That's different. That's different because you don't have control. That's a test. That's a true test. There's nothing wrong with testing yourself, but you're in control when you're doing that. And again, like I said, I approve of it. I think it's great. I think it's great that that's the brand that you propose and that you push people toward. But don't think for a second that that's how we judge things in the SEAL teams, which is just what that guy was asking me. I'm just answering the question. And now I have to say what I said about Mike Day. That's who we respect in the SEAL teams. The guy got shot 27 times and then still kept fighting. All right, let's look at some others. All right, this is another thing that David attacks me on. This one's kind of silly. I'm going to try and go through these quickly because a lot of them are a little bit silly, but I don't want you to have to go watch the other interview to get the story. You can, maybe you should, but here it is. So he really starts with like this initial DM that I sent him in very early 2020 before my book comes out. And the reason I'm sending him this DM is because my publishers tell me to go get quotes for my book that's coming out at that point. They're like, look, David Goggins has a really popular book and like he would be a good quote. So that's like, I text him and whatever. So,
hey, David, we haven't connected yet. I figured we should because I have a book coming out in April that aligns well with your message.
Yikes.
Would be awesome if I could get a quote from you. Happy to talk more. Good work out there, brother. So let me say this again. Now, don't read the one I wrote back because that was like a year and some change later. I didn't check DMs, but we'll get to that in a second. I want to make sure everybody's fucking clear on the bullshit of the SEAL teams. I have a book coming out in April.
Okay, so the point he's trying to make here is that I'm contradicting myself, right? Because later on, 9 months later, out of left field, I get asked this question about it, and I'm like, I don't really know anything about I don't know what his book is about. That's true, I don't know what his book is about. It doesn't mean I don't know what the theme is, okay? So this is kind of like a gotcha moment. Not really. I'm not really contradicting myself here, okay? He goes on to say that he's never read my book, doesn't know what it's about, and then tell the interviewer that it's about my life in the SEAL teams, which it's not. This is really silly. This segment I'm going to show you is Goggins getting mad at me for my comments about being known for particular deployments. Here we go.
I guess, I mean, I don't, he's not known for any particular deployments or in anything in particular. So I don't know what his book's even about.
Okay. Stop it there. Okay. He's not known for any particular deployments. You can take that in many ways. Maybe because I didn't get shot up and whatever the hell. Maybe I wasn't some war hero. And people think that every time you go to combat, as you now know.
So actually, David's taking this the right way. I mean, what's interesting about this, and the only point I want to make here is like he knows exactly how I meant it clearly, and at least he admits that. His enemy here is the podcaster, because what the podcaster did was misquote me and make it sound like, because for clickbait, obviously, it was just to boost his own podcast. And David, instead of being mad at this guy, he actually goes to this guy to give him more clickbait. Dude, like, okay. All right, I'm going to play another reaction here that he has to my video. I mean, You be the judge. We'll just see. Here we go.
With it at all? It's not very sealed.
You could have him go to that. It's not sealed.
So I can't relate with it. I can't relate. Dude, this whole thing. This whole motherfucking thing, dude. This is pathetic. This is an officer, bro. This is an officer. So do you think I had a good time in the SEAL teams? This
Apparently
is how
not.
it is. They talk out of one side of the mouth and then the other. That's what it was about. And now you're seeing it front and center.
So my question is, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? I mean, I find, you know, when he texted me, we're going to get to his text messages that he didn't want to put on his actual interview. I'm going to show you those text messages. When he texted me about this interview like years later, because he didn't seen it, right? He saw it like years later, just a few months ago, actually. I didn't remember this interview. Okay, like I really didn't. I find it completely inoffensive. I was worried when he texted me because I'm like, wow, maybe I did say something like really bad. You know, maybe I did. Like, I hope I didn't, because I kind of like him. Like, I hope I didn't say anything. And so I just reactively apologized as best I could. I only watched this interview after he went public just recently. I find it completely inoffensive. He does not. Now you have to understand that with David, like, and this is something I didn't know when I gave that interview, he has a history with the teams. Like, he'll say 87% don't like him, the 13% do like him. He uses those numbers. I don't know why, but those are the numbers he uses. The thing is like, none of us have that problem. So why does he? Like, maybe it's you, bro. Like, I don't know. And so, you know, I think he's attributing some of his past trauma with the teams to me here. But I'm just trying to answer a question about like why the teams see him the way they do. If anything, I'm trying to shift the conversation to the fact that he has a totally different brand, that he's not relying on the trident to like make his way through, which I think is okay. You know, he doesn't take it that way clearly, right? I don't even know what he's yelling about here. Let's see what else he says.
This man, you must get 800, almost 800,000 views. He's trying to take food off my motherfucking table, bro.
That's funny. 800,000 views. He calls it clickbait. That was the podcast host, not me. I didn't mislabel I didn't misquote myself and title it to get clickbait. The guy he's helping right now get more clickbait did that. Taking food off his table. Come on, man.
This motherfucker's defaming me. This motherfucker is trying to do everything, man. I'm a public fucking figure, and so is he. Do you think this is how Navy SEALs are supposed to act? Do you think I feel good about doing this shit?
Again,
I have no idea. You heard what I said, and you heard his reaction. Let's look at some more clips. He kind of switches throughout this like 20 or 30 minutes, complaining about the SEAL teams generally and me. I want to play you this clip. This is another reason I felt I had to do this video. Right here. Again, I don't really care what he says about me. He's kind of just ranting about me. He's offended. He's easily offended. And I'm sorry. I told him I was sorry. This is what actually makes me mad. Listen to this.
Aaron, the Beverly Hills Housewives of SEAL Team 6, or how'd you say it?
The Housewives of SEAL Team 6. That's
I'll
what
now, don't edit that shit. Don't edit that shit. I know they're gonna be mad at shit, but that's the truth. The Housewives of SEAL Team 6.
The Housewives of SEAL Team 6. So, yeah, the guys who leave their families and deploy, get shot, blown up. Yeah, housewives, that's just what they are. It's the Housewives of SEAL Team 6. Just a bunch of drama queens. Is that your implication, David? You know, a lot of my friends are at SEAL Team 6. Actually, I just saw a bunch of them recently at a funeral in Arlington, burying another SEAL, died in training. That's what SEAL Team 6 is doing. What are you doing? Housewives of SEAL Team 6. You didn't get into SEAL Team 6. I didn't either. Right? I have a vision thing. Wouldn't let me in. I had to leave the Navy. But things don't always go the way we want. And we can either choose to be resentful about it and hate them for it, or move on. But you're gonna disparage this group of people that have done so much for this country and sacrificed so much My friends have been blown up so many damn times at SEAL Team 6. They have to take training positions because the TBIs have just gotten to be too much. It's getting desperate. The amount of deployments some of these people have done is unbelievable. And to you, they're just the housewives of SEAL Team 6. You know what they talk about? I hang out with them all the time. Not you. They don't talk about you, David. They don't say anything about you. I've been in this community for 15 years. Never heard your name once until I got into the public figure space. That was the first time I'd heard of you. All right, I got to show you this reaction too, just so I can respond to all of the questions that I would potentially get. That's why I'm going through all of these, even though some of them are kind of silly.
It's very popular, right? Very, very popular. He doesn't talk about tactics or anything, right? But a lot of guys don't like that.
Yeah, so his book. I've never read his book, and I've never met a single SEAL who knows him, so I have no opinion. He doesn't have a very what would I call it? His SEAL career isn't very.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there just for 1 second. I don't have any opinion of him. Now we're about to go on a 2-minute soliloquy of this guy's opinion of me. So he also talks about here is that he's never met any Navy SEAL that knows me.
So David thinks this is a big gotcha moment.
You there, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay, so check this out.
We left him on the screen so you could look right at him when you tell us.
Great, I love it. So if you look at the back of Dan Crenshaw's book, and you don't have it there, but the people can look at the back of it. It's on the back of his book?
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked at the back of his book the other day because he said that he's never met. I have 6.3 million followers, and if you name drop me to any Navy SEAL, they're gonna say they fucking know me. There's 30.
Not true. Sorry, dude. This is not true. All right, let's keep going.
I was the 36th black Navy SEAL in the SEAL teams. I can't hide out that well. That said, just to give you facts, Dan Crenshaw was on Marcus Luttrell's podcast.
All right, I'll save you. He's basically saying Dan knows Marcus Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell knows me. Therefore, he lied. All right, dude. Like, when I hang out with Marcus, we don't talk about David Goggins. And especially, this is like years ago. Like, we just don't. I'm sorry, we don't. I don't take his phone like from him and then go through his contacts and like see who he talks to. I didn't know he knew you. Like, this isn't a gotcha moment. You're really this upset about this. It's nuts. All right, so this will be the last part that I respond to about this ridiculous interview. He's talking about when he found this horrible clip that I did. Like, I make no apologies for it at this point after actually seeing it. I don't think it's offensive. You can disagree with me, but look, that's up to you. He texts me. This is in November of just last year, early November of last year. I get this long text from him. He's like, someone shared a video with me today of you talking about me. You should know someone first before you just dive in like that. I did a hell of a lot more. It's a very, very long first text, like really, really long. It basically says a lot of what he's saying in this video. Okay. It's interesting because he claims to be super transparent here, but he won't show these texts. I'm going to show them to you. Let's see what he says about them first, and then I'm going to show you the texts.
He then does that shit. I talk to him. He backs all the way up, and it becomes like I really didn't mean anything by it. I leave it as this. Whatever I said at the very end. So my last text to him.
He's not going to read it.
Was
The next one?
Yeah. What's the
next one was after the Rogan podcast.
Okay. So anyway, we have a talk. I call him out on it, and then
he doesn't want to read it. Why doesn't he want to read it? It's interesting. I'll read you. I'll go through them as fast as I can. We'll put them on the screen as well. Again, for context, he's texting me this, and I'm like, I don't remember this at all. Like, this is like 3 years ago. You know, again, this random podcaster asking me a random question about David Goggins when we're in the middle of like, I'm trying to keep schools from getting shut down. I'm like calling our governor. Like, this is what's on my mind at this time. Okay. Not this kind of stuff. And then 3 years later, you know, David sees it. He's upset about it. And all I want to do, he's right. I did back up. I'm like, dude, like, I don't want any problems with you. And so here's what I said verbatim. Hey, man, I'm really sorry you felt that way. I honestly never meant any offense. I vaguely remember this comment or question. I meant it sincerely, just as an observation, not negative or positive. Like what I'm talking about there is my comments about him not acting like a SEAL. And I tell him, I meant it like most team guys don't run 50 miles and do motivational stuff like that. It's true. It's not normal. It's not like our thing. I texted him again. I said, the brotherhood is truly one of the only things that matters to me. So if I fucked up, I'm truly sorry, man. That's what I say. He says, Roger that. Congratulations. I texted him again. I said, I really hope you didn't take it to mean I didn't have respect for you. I vaguely recall answering that question and just saying, I really didn't know anything about you. If I didn't respect you in the way you conduct yourself, I never would have asked you to come speak at my events. Truly sorry if it came off wrong, man. Yeah, because like in the past, like, between these two events in the years past, I've invited him to events. I've offered to pay him. Right? Okay, so like he claims I'm trying to take food off his table. Well, dude, I like literally offered you paid speaking events. Okay, so I'm obviously not trying to take food off your table. He texts me again. He says, look, I've been dealing with team guys lying about me since I got back from Iraq in 2005. Took years for me to become the man that I am. I stood up for myself and the teams knowing it would fuck up my career. I'm used to the so-called toughest unit in the military talking behind my back, trying to discredit my hard work. You should listen to what you said in the interview. Well, I did. That said, I've always been the person who said what was on his mind, regardless if people like it or not. I've had many tough conversations with myself when I was trying to build character. That being said, we are good. I was just surprised when I was on my couch talking you up. One of my smoke jumper teammates said, I hate to show you this, and then busted out that video clip. I appreciate you being a man about this. Because of that, this shit is over. No joke. Congratulations on another big win. He's talking about the election. Enjoy your victory and your night. Much continued success. That was the end of that particular exchange. He didn't want to read that on this podcast for some reason. Maybe because, obviously he changed his mind, or maybe he was just lying to me. Maybe he's been planning this debut this whole time. And that goes against his claim about never lying and always having integrity. I don't know which one it is. Could be either. I texted him again on December 30th. I sent him this message. And he talks about this message in his interview here. But here's the message. I said, this is after he went on the Joe Rogan podcast. I said, hey, man, listen to your Rogan podcast. Really good shit. I had no idea about any of that shit with that SEAL Team 6 guy making YouTube videos about you and all that. Again, sorry if I made it seem like I was ever in that category. I am not. I would not have tried to get you to speak at my events if I didn't respect you and your message. Like you, I've been in the public eye since about 2018, and I understand very well how people will climb over your back to get higher. Get more clicks, get a little more famous, kind of like these podcasters. I got to say, like, the interview I gave was one of those mild interviews, answers to a question that I could possibly give. Really, as you can see, I'm just kind of trying to get out of the question. I'm blown away that a guy who wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me is so unbelievably offended by this. I'm blown away by it. Man, imagine if you were elected official, you saw the stuff that I see on a daily basis, the attacks from all sides. Let's keep listening to him here.
I fucking go and I text Dan Crenshaw. I said, you want proof of this fucking bullshit? He texts back, oh, what's up, brother? What's going on? How you doing, man? How's life? Just all nice and shit.
That part's actually a lie. I just checked the messages. He didn't like start the conversation in any particular way. It's not really important, but he is lying right there.
I go, do you think this motherfucker's talking out both sides of his mouth or what? He goes, man, that's fucked up. So me being me,
not true. Again.
I like to take shit right to the fucking damn horse's motherfucking mouth. It happens. I get a hold of Dan Crenshaw about this podcast that everybody just saw. I said, what the
right. And then the messages were sent and I just showed them to you. So let's conclude this. Okay. So, and then the one message he shows at the end, the last message I sent him post Joe Rogan show, I'm not sure what he thinks that proves, except that I'm being nice to him and support him. I'm sorry for that. Here's the thing. Like there's a very different interpretation of events. He thinks I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Like I talk shit about him here and then I'm nice to him in person. I don't actually think I talk shit about him. I stand by that. I'll watch the interview. You can decide for yourself, but I don't believe that was dragging him through the mud as he claims. Again, I don't understand why you're so sensitive about some of those answers. I truly don't. And I texted him that. I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry you took it that way. I do respect you. I mean, but if somebody asks me why the teams have a particular opinion of you, I am going to try and give them an honest answer from the team guy perspective, which is what I was doing. So David and I just have a completely different interpretation of these events. David, I'm sorry that you had such a horrible experience in the SEAL teams. I'm truly sorry that you despise the SEAL teams. I don't know why you wore your uniform on the cover of your book if you hate the SEAL teams so much. I don't know. I don't get it. It's not my experience. For me, it's the best community that I've ever been a part of. It's the most loyal community that I've ever been a part of. And it's what most SEALs I know feel about it as well. I'm sorry it wasn't that way for you. And I'm sorry that, whatever issues about people lying about your past, I'm sorry that you connected that to me, because I didn't tell a single lie about you. Not a single one. Right? I gave an opinion about why people feel certain ways about guys who get famous. I mean, that's a longer conversation. It is complicated how active duty SEALs feel about those of us who've kind of made it into the public eye. That sucks that you've taken it here, and that we've both had to waste our time doing these kind of videos to respond to this. But there's my response. You've got it. And for those of you listening, now you know my side of it. And it is what it is. All right.